Call of Duty 2020, the next installment in the iconic series is, well, maybe going to get announced this year? Look, I don't know when the game is going to come out, and I don't know when it's going to be announced. Actually, I'm on vacation right now, so it's possible that it just did get announced. But today I want to talk about what is in store for this year's Zombies mode. Zombies has seen some serious problems throughout its last few releases. Black Ops 4 left fans generally disappointed with remakes and underwhelming originals. Infinite Warfare Zombies was actually produced with some good content, but as a whole didn't really get a chance to shine. And World War II Zombies was World War II Zombies. So it's been rough for our beloved third game mode, and today I want to talk about the next Zombies. Treyarch is finally back up to bat, and more importantly, Zombies has been given a break. There was no third game mode for this year's Call of Duty, and I think that's great for fans and the series. It's given us a chance to step back, and now we're going to be able to go into it excited and fresh. But if Treyarch wants to produce another successful Zombies mode, they're going to have to do right. And so today I want to look at 5 things that Treyarch needs to do in order for 2020 Zombies to be successful. These aren't going to be fan theories or fun ideas, but literally the 5 things that without the game mode will not be able to succeed. Now, before we do get into it, I just want to talk about my second channel. This is something me and Roman started together, and we've been working super hard to make amazing content over there. We upload every other day that this channel doesn't, so if you subscribe to that, you'll have content from me every other day except for Saturdays, which is our day off. So if you can check it out and help us reach our goal of 50,000 subscribers, it would be really appreciated. So let's start with the first thing, the absolute necessity that Zombies 2020 needs. And this is actually a better HUD. Believe it or not, I think this is the single most important thing for this game to be successful. Or rather, it's not so much that a good HUD will make the game, but as we learned in Black Ops 4, a bad HUD will ruin it. I'm serious, think about it. What's the one thing you see 100% of the time when you're playing? It's the HUD. And for some reason, Black Ops 4 completely failed to make one that felt integrated into the gameplay. It was cluttered, packed, and overall an eyesore. To the left-hand side were points and players. While not too cluttered, it really just looks inappropriate for this game. It doesn't feel part of the map, but rather it's just a transparent image slapped over the gameplay. And that's the problem. The HUD needs to feel one in the same, and here it really doesn't. But what's worse is the right-hand side, which along with its poor design is just cluttered. You've got perks, which are okay, but then there's your specialist and your grenades, your gun, and those 4 gobblegum things above that. I don't even know what they're called, elixirs or something? There's just so much going on, and it takes up an ungodly amount of space. It feels clunky, it looks bad, and I just really expect more from such a master game developer. And I mean, in comparison, let's look at Black Ops 2, which we've been going through on this channel recently. This is what you want. The perk icons are beautiful, and they don't dominate the screen. You've got the round counter tucked nicely below it, and then ammo and player points sitting in the right-hand corner, which includes both buildables and grenades. The key here is that it's subtle. Nothing is overbearing, and no giant icons were needed. And just another point as to why Black Ops 2 is the greatest of all time, it even had custom HUDs. Buried's HUD is an old-fashioned wheel. Origins is a gear. There are small references to the theme of the map, and this helps to immerse players into the experience. But in fairness, even take a map like Shadows of Evil. Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 HUDs have a very similar number of things needed to display, but notice how much better Shadows uses space. There's Gobblegum, and Shadows of Evil specifically also had the Beast Mode counter. I think they did a really good job of making it feel polished and thematically consistent with the map. So this shows us that there isn't really an excuse for Black Ops 4's HUD. Shadows hardly had any less content to display, but looks 10 times better. So overall, if Treyarch wants to make a successful Zombies game, they're going to need to make big improvements to the HUD. Actually, really, I think it would just be better to probably start over. So from here, the next thing we need to see from 2020 Zombies is a larger appeal to the casual audience. In Black Ops 3, the casual player was entirely forgot about, with the only small-scale map being being the giant. One thing I often heard from my friends was that they liked to watch me play Shadows, but it was so complicated that it wasn't fun for them. The classic line was, "I don't want to take an hour to pack a punch." And I think especially in the launches of Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare, that's Spaceland, and Black Ops 4, the casual player was entirely forgotten about, which is a big part of your audience that you should try to appeal to. Now, the problem with appealing to the casual player is that you would then have to make two types of maps, both big and small ones. Well, there's actually a pretty easy compromise here. Worst case scenario, even if Treyarch doesn't have the resources to do this, there is still an easy solution: survival maps. So do you guys remember how in Black Ops 2, the main giant quest map that launched was Transit, right? Of course, who could forget? What really helped to secure this game's launch wasn't just that there was one big map. No, the developers realized the need for balance in their game, and so they turned Bus Depot, Farm, and Town into survival maps. This basically gave the players a Nocturne Toten, a Verrucht, and a Derice or Kino-sized map to play casually. This was great if they weren't feeling up to the big quest of Transit. It was an ingenious idea that took minimal effort on their behalf. And at the risk of this turning into a Black Ops 2 love video, what's crazy is they actually did this with the other maps as well. Mob of the Dead has a second game mode called Grief Cell Block. It's the 8-player 4v4 mode where Pack-a-Punch and like 7 or 8 perks are all in the prison area of the map. And while Grief was a bit of a disappointment, I think this concept as a map would have actually worked quite well. Buried also had a Grief mode in which everything is there, ready to go, and if it had been turned into survival, you could just play the map without the need to do all the crazy setting up. So I personally would love to see this sort of format in the next Zombies. Obviously, we want the big scale quest maps, but it would be nice if they also remembered the casual players and just added some balance. I love Black Ops 3, but I hate that it was so one-dimensional, even if that single dimension was insanely deep. Zombies needs balance, and hopefully Treyarch now understands that. Now, next up, this is pretty simple, but 2020 Zombies needs to be polished from day one. Black Ops 4 had been rushed a month early so as to compete with Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption and other Battle Royale games. And so it just wasn't completed at launch. There were so many blue screens, and I really can't think of a better way to alienate your fans than by selling them something that doesn't even work. I understand that bugs happen, but this is an obvious thing that needs to be done better this year. Anyway, from here, we need to talk about perks. I think it goes without saying that perks are pretty important. Juggernog, Speed Cola, Quick Revive, Double Tap, Stamina Up, and the rest are iconic details of Zombies, and the cold cut of them from Black Ops 4 was not received well. This was actually a fair decision on Jason Blundell's behalf. And I want to explain why this happened to more so address the underlying issue with Black Ops 3 and 2's perk system. See, these games had a problem too. It's just that in trying to fix them, Black Ops 4 made it significantly worse. Okay, so you load up into a game of zombies. I don't care what map you're going to play, here's the perks you're gonna get. Jug every single time, Quick Revive every single solo game, maybe not so much in co-op. You'll probably grab Double Tap because it makes your gun stronger, or if you're using Wonder Weapons or double pack upgrades, you'll skip Double Tap but go with Speed Cola. Or Stamina Up because you're cool. What I'm getting at is that we're all super basic when it comes to perks. And that's because the perks act as crutches. They're things that you practically need, which you'll end up buying every single game. Crutch perks hog the perk slots and force you into a single playstyle. Black Ops 4 had hoped to fix this by removing the crutch perks like Jug and Quick Revive, for example. Now that actually makes a whole lot of sense, and I don't think people give Jason Blundell credit for having the balls of steel as to which he did for removing them. But the problem was that they didn't replace it with anything better. As Tim mentioned, the perk machines are as much machines as they are personalities, and in removing them, you remove a part of the game's life force. The 4 machines that were added in BO4 were soulless and boring to the point where I would sometimes walk past them not realizing they were perk machines. And from what I can tell, most players would use the same 4 perks anyway. Dying Wish, Quick Revive, Stamina Up, and then the 4th might vary, but it seems to usually be Time Slip. And so just like with Black Ops 2 and 3, the Black Ops 4 perk system fell into the exact same problem. So it seems to me that if you're going to have perks in zombies, people will always figure out the best before and then use those no matter what. So with that in mind, I mean, why not just bring our old pals back and at least the game will have a little bit more life thrown into it. There's still something that could be done, however. Black Ops 2 had permaperks. Yeah, I basically at this point, I just want 2020 Zombies to be Black Ops 2 rehashed. Anyway, though. Now, the permaperk system was really weird. It was complicated and unreliable, despite actually being very developed. There was Perma Jug, which gave you extra hits to down, and Perma PhD Flopper. But you also had ones that gave you more points for headshots, ones that saved all but one perk upon downing, and another that gave you better box weapons. And as Lex has talked about, I think there could be a really good integration of this idea into the original perks. Basically, these perma perks could be tied to the perks themselves. Now let's just say these perma perks could be unlocked through completing challenges or something. And so upon purchasing your initial perk, you could add a secondary perma perk type feature to each perk that adds as an additional feature. And this could even work as a tree system where as you level up, you get to choose different abilities for your perk. Say like if you play a camping style, maybe one tree of the jug progression has steady, where if you stay still for 5 seconds or more, you get an additional point of health. Or if you like to train, maybe the second tree option of upgrades makes it so zombies are less likely to double swipe you or something. Upgrading Quick Revive could make it so that it adds an extra life in solo, or the other tree could make it so that it doesn't consume a perk slot. And these trees could even continue on, giving your perk multiple abilities. There is just so much you could do to improve the perk system, and it builds off the idea that Jason had of secondary abilities. I just propose the Treyarch should take it even further. Double down on that idea, but bring back the old perks as they were a staple of the game, and I miss them. And now the final thing that 2020 Zombies needs to succeed is consistent updates. So the gaming landscape has evolved a lot since World at War came out. Yet in 10 years, Treyarch and Activision have failed to evolve this process in any meaningful way for zombies. It's just always been 4 DLC maps throughout the year. This is a really stale formula and it's getting boring for fans. I remember Black Ops 3 being extremely frustrating as after DLC 2, Zetsubo no Shima dropped and the developers basically went dead for 2.5 months. Where we see games like Fortnite dropping consistent content, that sort of behavior just can't be accepted if they want zombies to succeed. And like Activision has managed to push with Warzone, I think we're going to need to see consistent updates for zombies. So at the bare minimum, Zombies is going to need new content at least once a month. But honestly, I would like to see updates bi-weekly or even every single week. I'm not saying that this needs to be a new map. It could be things like a weapon or a new item. Doesn't have to be much, but just keep things fresh for us. Also, let's consider the possibility of seasons for zombies. Imagine Zombies 2020 drops, and just like with Warzone and Modern Warfare, it starts on day 1 with Season 1. Season 1 follows the launch of the first map, and the game progresses into other seasons with each DLC dropping. And these seasons could have a host of challenges, maybe even a battle pass that adds weapons, camos, or your character could rock different outfits. You could unlock more guns and customize what pops up in the mystery box. I'm just spitballing here, but just imagine how cool it would be to have an updated progression system that keeps you playing zombies consistently. And if you want to get crazy, maybe even add in 4 small survival maps throughout the DLC season between the big ones. This could also just add a little extra to keep the game fresh and give fans something to always be looking forward to. So overall, 2020 Zombies needs to see some big changes to the series format. It's going to need to drop polished with no blue screens and with something that appeals to the casual player. The original perks must return, but we're also going to need to see some innovation with them. The HUD is in drastic need of a revision, and with all of this, the game is going to need to see more consistent updates that we've got from them in the past. I'm genuinely hopeful for this game though. Black Ops 4 took a lot of risks and it showed Treyarch what not to do, so this time around it should be a lot easier for them. While maybe we shouldn't set our expectations too high, I think it's possible we'll get a solid product this time. But we still have a ways to go before we can get our hands on the game. And if you're looking to pass the time, then you should look no further than Nifty Smith. We've been uploading some really awesome content over on the second channel, and it would mean a lot to me and Roman if you would consider subscribing and help us reach 50,000 subscribers. Top link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. And as always, peace out, you freaking nerds.